So, hi Sharon, this is Bodhi, and I'm absolutely delighted to have you here tonight. And let us
I'm
discuss a bit
excited to
about
be here.
same here. So I do have your consent to go ahead and record this video and maybe use it on my social media platforms. I hope it's
No
okay with
problem.
you. Thank you. Thanks a lot. So just give us a brief introduction about yourself for our viewers who are going to watch it later on.
Okay, so I've been teaching in Morocco for 7 years. I started teaching in Canada. And before I started teaching, I was working as an accountant. I was office manager. So quite a shift. I was bored.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I was a little bit bored. I wanted more. And I wanted to travel and see new places, meet new people,
Mm-hmm.
new cultures,
Yeah.
this kind of thing. At the time, the best way to do that for me was to get a teaching certificate.
Okay.
So I just got a basic TEFL certificate. I got it online.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, I started building up private clients. I started getting my own experience. To become a teacher in Canada is quite difficult. There's a lot of schooling, a lot of certifications that you have to get, a lot of experience. It's quite difficult. But I got my TEFL certificate, and I worked with private students,
Okay.
international students, helping them with their essays, helping them with their university and college work, stuff like that.
Mhm.
And then I started putting out applications to schools in Morocco.
Okay. And
And
why
here I am.
Morocco? Why Morocco especially? What fascinated you about Morocco?
I have some friends
Mhm.
in Canada
Okay.
that are from Morocco. I
Mhm.
had visited for a few months. I visited here while I was in university.
Mhm.
So I felt like it was a good start. See what happens when I got here, and then if I wanted to, travel around, it's a lot easier to travel from Morocco to other countries than it is to
Uh-huh.
travel from Canada to other countries,
Yeah, I know.
just for distance, right?
Yeah,
So it's easy access to Europe. So
it's in the middle of of the world in the world.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh, and how has been the teaching experience so far for you? What can you tell about it? About it?
Yeah. So when I first started teaching in Morocco,
Hmm.
it was nothing like I expected.
Oh.
Nothing at all like I expected. I'm used to, in Canada, we have a lot of, the school system is regulated.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of, resources, there's a lot of things to work with.
Hmm.
And when I came to Morocco, um, there was nothing. I came here to work in a school. It was a brand new school.
Hmm.
They were going to be doing sort of an English, excuse me, like an English immersion sort of thing. So all subjects were going to be taught in English,
Hmm.
but they didn't have a curriculum.
Okay.
So they brought teachers in and said, make your own program.
Wow.
Yeah, so I wasn't prepared for that. So right from the very beginning, I had to do a lot of learning, a lot of research, a lot of my own sort of development,
Hmm.
which has helped me immensely for what I'm doing right
Absolutely.
now.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But it taught me to be flexible
Hmm.
and innovative, is
Absolutely.
what that did.
Yeah.
So
It's like
yeah.
you planted the seed, and from there you are now reaping the benefits or the fruits from that plant.
Exactly, exactly.
Uh, yes, I mean, each and every individual who has chosen to become a teacher, they have their own interesting stories. This is what has inspired me also, because I'm going to share with you a little bit about myself, why I chose to become a teacher. I was not in the teaching field. I was in a completely different scenario. I was actually having my own business of running a construction firm for industries. So that is something which is completely different. And I used to
Yeah.
travel a lot. Because of that, I got the opportunity to travel the world, many remote places in India as well. And there was always this thing that came up to me as a feedback from people, that you know what, you have a great language skill, so why don't you use it? So why don't you? This was something that kept on bugging me, one way or the other, And many people
Mhm.
are not very conversant with the language, although they understand when you speak to them, but they feel very shy or they feel very hesitant when they have to speak it by themselves. So that was something that kept bugging me in my
Yeah.
mind behind. And what happened was, uh, one fine evening, just before, I think it was a year before the lockdown, I got to meet one of my old school friends, and we met after a long time, and he got the opportunity to go and work in the UK. And he was telling me, Bodhi, I have the opportunity to go and work there, but my company is asking me to go and appear for the IELTS, because only then they will be issuing a work permit to him. And he was
Yeah.
very hesitant about it. He was from a vernacular medium, from one of the Indian languages, and that is how his schooling was. He was very good with his IT skills, but he was very poor with his English skills. So he didn't want to go and appear for the IELTS. So every time his company needed him in the UK, they had to issue him a business visa, which costed them a lot because of his airfare and his accommodation and everything. But he didn't take up
Mhm.
this opportunity. So I told him, you know what, uh, I can help you with this. So let me just go ahead and help you with your English speaking or writing, reading skills, whatever it is. And after a lot of thoughts, what he told me was, you know what, Bodhi, I'm really very glad that you're offering to help me, but I'm going to seek help from a professional. So I thought, that's interesting. So
Yeah.
even if I offer my services free of cost, he is looking for someone who is taking charges for this same service. So I thought, why not to do this myself? And later on, when things came to a grinding halt because of the pandemic and everything, I started thinking about it on a more serious way, and I thought that maybe I should do it full time. And
Mhm.
the response was quite overwhelming, because people started pouring in. They wanted to have help. Initially, it was quite difficult for me, because everybody wanted to have a kind of a reputation or a branding. They wanted to know how many students I taught before. So the initial phase was quite a bit of a struggle, but now I think I'm in a position where I can command my own fees. And
Yeah.
so
And once you get that first bit of once you get that first bit of experience, it's a lot easier.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So what are the difficulties, if I dare ask you, what are the difficulties you face while teaching online or even in a classroom, especially if you compare these two aspects of teaching? What do you think is the major difference between these two? And what are the difficulties that you face? How do you overcome it?
Yeah, I find that between teaching in person and teaching online, it's a completely separate strategy.
Absolutely.
When I'm teaching students face to face,
Hmm.
I have closer interaction with them. Students often, they want to do well, they want to please you, so it's really easy to get the right reactions and the right engagement
Exactly.
out of students when they're sitting there with you.
Yes.
Online creates distance and they don't feel the same sort of connection with you.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm working online, a lot of teachers will say don't get really personal with your students, but I find that that is absolutely essential when your students are online.
Yeah.
So I interact with them outside of class time through social media, WhatsApp groups, this kind of thing. And I also, I use a flipped classroom strategy. So rather than giving a lecture or, giving my lesson online, I let students sort of discover the subject for themselves. And then it's more of a discussion, and to clear up any sort of, misunderstandings or, things that are unclear, to make sure everybody's kind of on the same page. So
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And especially when you are facing the students face to face, or you are there in a classroom setting, you also get to see their non-verbal communication, their body movements and everything, and it matters a lot.
exactly.
While on the online platform, it is a bit difficult, but at the same time, I would say that it is also quite fascinating because you get to reach a lot many people at the same time rather than confining yourself in a classroom setting. It has its pros and cons.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. I agree
Uh,
completely. I find the classroom settings,
hmm,
a classroom setting comes with expectations, right? Students know what they're supposed to do. The teachers know what they're supposed to do, and they can expect, reactions from each other.
hmm,
And when you take that online, it becomes not just unfamiliar, but I mean, students are looking for guidance, but
yeah,
also there's this opportunity to completely change the way that things are done and that the way that information is presented. And
exactly.
that can often be a lot more effective.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with that. So, yes, it has its own advantages and disadvantages, of course. If somebody is too focused on the betterment of the student, or they really want the student to come out of the shell, because I faced students who are very shy, although they have the language ability, they feel very shy to communicate, they're very hesitant, and no matter how much I coax them over a Zoom call or something, they would still restrict themselves to short answers rather than elaborating themselves, and that becomes quite a bit of a
Mm,
challenge for me to bring them out of the shell and to make them actually speak, which is something which I
yeah,
don't find that difficult if they are sitting right in front of me, because then they have no other choice. They cannot run and hide somewhere.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, okay, so what exactly motivated you to become a teacher? What thoughts you had when you first took the decision that I'm going to leave my accountancy job and become a teacher?
Yeah, it's a strange thing because I never imagined that I would be a teacher. And I'll tell you, I remember a day when I was in grade 6.
Mm-hmm.
I'm, maybe 12 years old, 11, 12 years old. I'm sitting in a classroom and I'm looking at my teacher and I'm thinking, how can anybody
Mm-hmm.
stand in front of 30 people
Mm-hmm.
and talk? I was such a shy child. I could not imagine. I thought, why would anybody want this job?
Mm-hmm.
And then as I got older and, was deciding what I wanted to do, and realizing that the choices I had made, maybe weren't the best, maybe there were some other things that, I wanted to do, traveling and stuff. And I thought the only way I'm going to do that now is teaching.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, okay, well, I'll give this a shot. And then as I got into teaching and as I learned about, different ways to different ways to teach,
Mm-hmm.
different kinds of students, different kinds of teaching,
Mm-hmm.
um, I started to see the kind of impact that can make
Yeah.
on people. I focused my learning on business English.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I worked mostly with university students and IELTS students. I did a lot with IELTS students because Canada, as you know, for their immigration, they require an IELTS test. But I've also, as I started working in Morocco, I branched out, not just teaching English, but also I ended up homeschooling a few kids. Some, their parents are expats, they're here, they don't want to put their kids in the school system because they don't have the Arabic and French language. So I ended up homeschooling a couple of students from the UK. And also a student from America. I did some homeschooling with her for a while. So yeah, just as I could see how it was impacting people and how it was creating opportunities for them, it became a really, fulfilling career choice.
As you told me that at age 11, on grade 6, you observed your teacher and had such a profound and deep thought about a profession. I don't think that I had such kind of thoughts when I was that old. I was always just busy about myself. I was I was never that deep of a thinker because I was quite shy as well. I'll be very honest with you. I was a very shy kid, and if somebody, if the teacher just pointed out to me, I felt as if the world has come to a stop, and automatically my heart rate would go up and touch the roof, something like that. It's a weird kind of a feeling, especially if I didn't know the answer. So that was the kind of a student I was. But because of my job, because of the job that I was doing, I had to meet so many kind of people, right from the absolute basic workers, right from them to the CEOs, and I had no other choice but to meet them and to greet them, to have a conversation with them. So that really brought me out of all the inhibitions that I had about myself. And later on, as I took up teaching now, I think that is what is helping me to meet people from all walks of life. It's quite fascinating.
For sure. Yeah. Like myself as well, when I was working in the accounting office, I mean, I sat with clients every day, and it really does help, to sort of, once you step out of your comfort zone a little bit, you see, you start to get used to the environment. So
yes, I absolutely agree with that. Do you think that there is a possibility of any technological advancement to retain the attention of students when we are teaching them online? Is it possible? Like, for example, if we have some kind of an artificial intelligence built in Zoom or some other platform where we can actually see that the student is paying attention to us, or maybe something that could tell us the micro movements or the physical movements that the student is going through, which can mimic somewhat as of a classroom setting. Is it possible? Do you think that it could be the next big thing in the online education revolution?
I think something like that is I think it's possible and probably already in the works. Somebody's probably already working on something like that. I don't know that it would be the best approach, though. I think rather than trying to, sort of micromanage students, are they paying attention? Are they on social media? Are they, what are they doing? I think a better approach is to empower the students to take control of their own learning. And, if they are engaged in the lesson, then there's no need for that kind of surveillance, to see what they're doing. They're either going to be engaged in lessons and they're going to take part and they're going to try their best, or I mean, there's some people that school is just not their thing, no matter what you do. But I think as a teacher, it's our job to highlight the importance of education and to make it interesting and engaging so that we don't really have to worry about our students paying attention because, they just are.
I remember I watched a movie called The Freedom Writers, maybe, if I remember the name correctly. It was by Hilary Swank, if I remember the name correctly. I watched it a long time back, and she was a teacher in a school where she was assigned to a class where the students were really troublemakers. They belonged from the below poverty line. They had really tough childhood, and they were in their early teens or in the middle of the teens, and they really didn't care about education. And the way she turned them around, I think it's based on a true story. And she was assigned a teaching job for them. The initial phase was very difficult for her because the students were completely against an authority figure. They didn't have that in their own family, and they didn't want it in the classroom as well. So that was quite fascinating because a good teacher can actually change the life of a person. And I believe that with strong conviction that it is possible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It sounds similar to a movie that I had watched. It's an old movie, maybe from the 1960s.
Okay.
It's called Tutor with Love. And it's basically the same story. He comes in to a classroom filled with troubled kids. The school can't, they go through a lot of teachers because they can't get control of these students.
Yeah.
And, he just, through basically through caring about these students and their lives, caring about them as people, he's able to turn them around and turn the whole school around.
Wow, yes.
That kind of stuff is really, really inspiring.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And I was very fortunate that I came across one such teacher when I was learning French. The first teacher that I had, she was so marvelous. And the first rule that she made in the classroom, and I still remember that, the first day we were in the classroom, she told that this is the first and the last time you're going to speak in English in my class. From now on, you are going to speak in French. And that was the first time that we were attending to a French lesson. How could I speak in French? I don't know a word. It's not possible. And she told, just give me some time. I'm going to make you learn French within a short period of time. And you're going to you're going to introduce yourself in French. So it seemed quite a daunting task for all of us, but whoever paid a little bit of attention, even like 25, 30% of their attention to what was being taught, I think they would still thank that teacher even today. And she was marvelous. She was one of the best teachers that I ever had.
It's so great when you have yourself, when you have a really great teacher. That's really inspiring as well. And you tend to see the best techniques that those teachers have used and that worked so well, and then you use them in your own teaching.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah. I remember I had to go and explain myself as a teacher to a student at his home in Bombay, where I stay. And the mother tongue of the student was Hindi, one of the major Indian languages. And the mother of the student was also teaching, was also sitting in front of me and the student. And I told the same philosophy to the student. You know what? You are going to speak in English right from day one with me, even though you don't know a word. We are going to converse in English. And the mother was very skeptical, and she said, I don't want you to do that. I want you to translate whatever is written in the English textbook into Hindi and explain that to him, and that is your job. So just stick with that. And I was like, I'm the teacher here, so don't command and don't tell me what I need to do. Do you want your kid to score better or not? I mean, it's my responsibility, right? So let me teach according to my own wisdom. She was hesitant, but then she agreed, and he did quite well. So I'm proud of that fact, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, that's, that I find that to be the most frustrating thing when parents, they hire you to educate their kid, and then they tell you how to do it.
Exactly.
You know, I find this a lot here, where I set up a program for students and the parents are like, oh, just do it like this. And you know, they insist. So I do it like that. And then they say, well, what's happening? There's no results. Well, I'm doing exactly what you told me. Now it's my turn. Let me do what.
You are a patient person, then I won't have that kind of patience with the parents. I can have a world of patience with my students. If they do not understand something, I'm really going to break it down to the micro levels as much as possible, but not with the parents. It is very difficult for the parents to convince. I would rather
Yeah.
say, just give me your kid for 3 months and let's see where he stands after 3 months.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, okay, now with the online revolution thing, how do you think the overall education is going to get impacted? Do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think that as more and more people become comfortable with learning online, and the more that people can see a benefit to it, I think it's going to be a larger portion. I don't think education is going to be completely online, because there is definitely benefits to, an in-person experience.
Yeah.
But I think that more and more there's going to be, like, for example, in Canada, the high school system is moving towards sort of a hybrid model, where they do in-person classes, and then there are other classes that are done strictly online. What that does, it allows students to take the courses that they need, without being afraid of the classrooms filling up, and they don't get the course they need for college, university. It lets them take more courses in a shorter amount of time. And it also frees up their personal time as well for extracurricular things. Because, an online class, you don't have to go to the classroom, sit there for an hour, and then, move on to something else. You can get on, 20 minutes, half an hour, you're done, and you move on to something else.
Yeah.
So I think that with the pandemic, I think it's pushed people to accept online as a viable option for learning. And I think it opens up education to a lot more people as well.
Exactly.
I know there's a lot of people that don't have access to the internet and things, but when we look at statistics, we look at a lot of countries, especially in Africa, there's a lot of statistics for people. Everybody's got a smartphone.
Even in
everybody
India. Even in
yeah
India.
So maybe you don't have a computer at home, maybe you don't have an internet connection at home, but you do have a smartphone. So it opens up education to so many more people.
Yes, exactly. I think even 5 or 7 years back, we didn't have this kind of an internet boom here in India. But then it just revolutionized. Even the political aspect of India has changed quite considerably because of the advent or the inroads that internet has made in India. It has changed a lot, but as you said, that it has reached with the online education thing. Education will reach at every doorstep where people were really deprived of. There are many stories. I don't know whether you know this for a fact or not, but many Indian students, right, from the rural part of India, they had to travel like 5 to 7 kilometers, and which was quite a bit of a distance for a child to travel from their home to the school. And that is the nearest access of school that they had. So even like crossing a river would come in between. So that is how difficult it is. But with the internet and with having a smartphone, I think it is quite easier now to actually get a
Exactly.
feel of what education is all about. So
Yeah.
yes, it is quite a commendable thing that we are looking at. And secondly, what I would like to tell you is that you know, many people who were thinking that, for example, if we take up a course like learning English, I think it is possible to teach them online, give them a certain amount of tasks, and based on their performance, we can actually grade them or they can actually learn something instead of learning nothing. That is
Exactly.
possible. But at the same time, there are courses wherein you have to go and attend a classroom. For example, if I wish to become a heart surgeon, I cannot take a class online and perform a surgery.
Yeah. Yeah.
That will be quite a disaster.
Virtual heart surgery is not the same.
That will be quite a disaster. But apart from that, I think many courses have the option to go online and ac-
For
at
sure.
least get an access to education for people who don't have any access to education because of lack
For
of knowledge.
sure. Yeah.
I mean, for example, if you just take an example of you as a person, Shannon is teaching Indian students here in India, given the geographic locations and the time difference that we have. But if we still manage to have a classroom setting, an online classroom setting, it will give many students the opportunity to have a direct conversation with you, to get their language skills better, of course with your
Hmm.
experience and everything. So it will help. uh, Still at the
For
nascent
sure.
stage, but let's see how it pans out to be.
Yeah, for sure.
uh, do you have any suggestion for the future teachers worldwide, whoever is contemplating hard about becoming a language teacher, whether they should take up this profession or not? What is your message to them?
Yeah, so for teachers who or aspiring teachers who want to start teaching online or even just like get into teaching, at all, it's um it's really really it's a fulfilling job.
Absolutely.
It really is. I got into teaching because I wanted to travel and I wanted to meet people, and it was just the vehicle for me to do that.
Hmm.
But as I got into it,
Hmm.
I learned so much about my own students, about the culture. Um, Teaching online has allowed me to experience not just this culture in Morocco, but also, cultures around the world. So, I mean, it takes a lot of teachers think here's the thing. I got a degree.
Hmm.
I got a BA in criminology.
Okay.
Nothing to do with teaching.
Yeah.
I didn't use that degree. I ended up going on to, do accounting.
Hmm.
So many teachers online, I see them in Facebook groups, in different chats, they want CELTA, Delta, they want, a master's in literature, in linguistics.
Hmm.
Not
Yeah.
necessary at all
Yeah.
to teach English. I mean, that kind of stuff, if you're into the topic, I
Yeah.
mean, that's great.
Yeah.
But don't think that you have to be drowning in credentials
Absolutely.
to start teaching.
Yeah.
It's really about connecting.
Yeah.
How can you connect with your student?
Hmm.
How can you, help them to grow? How can you change their life for the better? That's what it's about.
Absolutely. I
So
agree with that. I have come across many teachers who are highly qualified. They have done a PhD in physics. They have written theses on physics. But when they face a classroom full of students who are at the bottommost pit of physics, they know nothing about, me included, in that classroom. I always found it very difficult to understand the concepts of physics. And unfortunately, I didn't have any good teacher who could explain me in a layman language what physics is all about.
yeah.
And every time when there was this physics lecture coming up, I was always very dreadful. I felt, oh my God. I'm going to have a hard time. So this all comes, and we have
Yeah.
some of the
I
most
find,
yeah, please go on.
yeah, that's it. That's exactly it. People who are, really, really educated about things. I mean, that's great if that's your passion and that's, but the more educated you become about a subject,
Mhm.
the harder it gets for you to, connect with other people on
Exactly.
that same topic,
Mm.
at a level that they can understand.
Yeah.
A lot of times I see these teachers in groups,
Mm.
and they're overcorrecting people's
Mm.
grammar,
Ah.
and they're telling people, no, no, you have to all kinds of, you know,
You're breaking up. Hello, hello.
it's
I'm sorry. I think we lost the connection for a bit.
the most important. Oh, is it okay now?
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
It's okay now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
You're back.
perfect. So, yeah, the more educated and the more credentials somebody has,
Mm.
I feel like they lose touch
Absolutely.
with
Mm.
what it actually is to teach.
Yes. Yes.
You know what I mean? It's about connecting with people. It's about helping them to understand, and I think that is the most important thing.
Absolutely. To have a human connection with your students, that is the most important thing, I also believe.
Exactly. Exactly. A lot of times I find, like in my own classrooms, especially my online classrooms,
Mhm.
because I know it can be really difficult for young students
Mm.
to pay attention to a lesson going on
Ah.
online.
Mhm.
What I do, I find, is I have students who understand, they're understanding the concepts. I have them teach the ones who are having difficulty.
Uh-huh.
By teaching, you understand better, and
Mhm.
they can explain it at a level
Mm.
that is better understood.
Absolutely.
So that benefits everybody. Have the
Yes.
student become a
Yes.
teacher.
Yes. It also creates a sense of, a kind of a competition, which is a healthy competition. Suppose I am a student
Hmm.
who is not understanding the concept, and then this is the guy sitting right next to me, and he is able to concept or comprehend the concept so easily. So that brings me to a mental state wherein it will push me out of my comfort zone and break the barriers of what is stopping me from understanding the concept. So if he
Exactly.
can understand, why not me? So
Exactly.
that is how it works, and it works every time, I think.
For sure.
Any parting thoughts, Shannon, to the students or the teachers or as a whole to the world, whatever you have in your mind?
Yeah, I just think, this is it's a challenging time for everybody, for teachers, for students. Everybody is trying to um, get their footing, understand what's going on. And I think that it's really important as teachers,
Mhm.
to create safe spaces for our students,
Mhm.
create safe spaces for each other,
Mhm.
be supportive, and just try and get through all of this as best we can.
Absolutely. That's a very nice thought. And it was really an honor, a pleasure talking to you tonight. Uh, I was really looking
Thank
forward for
you.
this conversation tonight.
Yeah.
Thanks, Shannon. We'll keep in touch for sure.
All
And
right. Thanks for having me.
thanks a lot. And when I do post it on YouTube, I would like to send the link to you so that you can also have a look. And
Fantastic.
we'll also keep in touch no matter what.
Great. Thank you so much. That's fantastic.
Thanks, Shannon. Thanks for spending time with me. Thank you. See you
Thanks.
soon. Bye.
See you.